talk about the underrated marketing asset your firm needs to generate more leads. So I just want to start by asking a question. And just by your assessment, I'd love to know, do you think your marketing is currently generating leads for your firm? We hear a lot from people that they're doing a lot of marketing, but they don't necessarily know whether it's impacting their bottom line or not. So even if you just give me a number, like 1 being like, hey, the lead gen isn't that great, to 10 being the best, you can let me know how you think your marketing is contributing to your lead gen. Cara, I know you hear this a lot too. Maybe you can share a little more of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I hear it all the time, Lauren. I mean, it's, when you are sort of investing in marketing or even just, putting, brand feelers out there in many different ways, it's sometimes hard to allocate and sometimes hard to attribute every lead to the appropriate source, right? I mean, like Lauren and I talk about this with James all the time because, we're doing these marketing mentors, we're, hosting weekly interviews with attorneys, we're on Instagram. When you're doing lots of things, it's sometimes not easy to really kind of figure out what's working and what's not. So I know Lauren's going to get into some of that today.
Yeah, and I think the reality is that online marketing is rather complicated. There's lots of channels you can play on. There are, email marketing, your website. We have, I don't know how many social channels that exist. It seems like a new one comes out every year. Not to mention paid advertising online. Like there are a lot of things you can be doing. And really at the end of the day, we want to see that marketing is generating leads and isn't just a exercise in effort with no results. So that's really the purpose of these marketing mentor sessions. We dive deep into a specific marketing topic to help you look at your marketing in a different way and almost simplify your law firm growth by making online marketing simpler. We really want you guys to understand the strategy behind specific channels, specific assets, so that you can make informed decisions about where you want to invest your marketing dollars and time and resources and team. So I just want to highlight one comment that I find really interesting in the chat. Jody saying that they're definitely generating leads. But they have about 35% of those leads are qualified and 65% are unqualified. So I think this is a pretty common experience from what I hear. Also, I'd say this is the job of your marketing, is not all leads that you generate are going to be qualified. So we want to have some mechanisms in place to filter out between the qualified and unqualified leads. We have some really great past marketing mentor sessions that do talk about this. So if you haven't seen those yet, when I get a break, I will find that link for you and send it on over so you can watch the replay if you find that will be helpful. How do I qualify my leads and how do I sort through who's going to be a great fit and not a great fit? Okay, so with that in mind, when we are talking about marketing, I am looking at 3 aspects to your marketing. 1, are we generating leads? 2, are we qualifying those leads? And 3, are we nurturing those leads? And I think when you approach marketing with this framework in mind, you're really going to see better law firm growth. Sometimes the mistake I see is we focus solely on lead generation and we forget that it takes time for people to be ready to take the next step with us and that we have to sort through who's qualified and not qualified. So when you're thinking about your marketing and your overall strategy, I really want you to ask yourself, okay, how are we generating leads? How are we qualifying those leads? And then how are we nurturing those leads and staying top of mind until they're ready to take the next step with us? Okay, so that being said, today we're going to focus primarily on lead generation. So we're really looking at, to some degree, a numbers game. We need a certain number of qualified eyeballs to get a certain number of qualified leads to get a certain number of clients. Now, is it always as precise as I need 100 qualified eyeballs to get 5 qualified leads to get 1 client? Not exactly, but having a benchmark of about how many people am I converting into leads and about how many of those leads am I converting into clients can really help you understand how many more qualified eyeballs do I need in order to hit our lead and client goal targets. So sometimes if you're not getting enough leads or you're not getting enough clients, you need to increase the total number of eyeballs that are looking at your marketing assets. Other times you could keep the same number of qualified eyeballs, but just work to increase the percentage that convert into qualified leads and qualified clients. So I think this is another important consideration for you when you're looking at, okay, what's effective and what's not effective, and which levers am I going to pull? Do I need more traffic? Or do I need more leads and clients? And therefore I should work on increasing conversion rate, moving people from eyeballs to leads to clients. Okay, so what does lead generation mean, really? I find people get a little confused about what lead generation is. Sometimes we think it's people reaching out through our contact form and our live chat, and that is enough. From my standpoint, lead generation is getting contact info for people who are potentially interested in your firm, so that you can keep following up with them until they're ready to make a buying decision. So a lead isn't an anonymous website visitor. A lead is someone who's given you their contact information. And I think this is where a lot of firms get tripped up, is they think, oh, let's focus on traffic, traffic, traffic. No, I want to see an email in hand minimum, maybe a phone number, and maybe a little more information. All leads, as Jody hinted at, aren't created equal. So there are a few different ways that we can generate leads and kind of group them into hot and warm buckets. But I think the mistake that I see firms make a lot is they look at just calls, and they look at just contact form submissions as, hey, that's where we're generating leads, and that's the only place we're generating leads. From my standpoint, those are hot leads. Like, those are people who are ready to possibly make the next step within a matter of days or weeks. But there's all sorts of leads that you can generate that maybe aren't ready now, but will be in the future, and they're just earlier on in the buying process. So I'd love to ask you just in the chat, like, where in your marketing do you collect contact info? If you can let me know if you have a contact form, if you have live chat, and if there's anywhere else that you're collecting contact info. Okay, so Carmen saying people who are interested in our services and are getting their info. So Carmen, where does that happen? Like, where are you getting their info on your marketing assets? Website, landing pages, newsletter. Great. Live chat, contact card, phone calls, Calendly, scheduling page. Great. I don't expect you to type fast, Carmen. Thank you. Okay, so it looks to me like many of you are collecting contact info for hot leads, people who are calling, people who are booking on your calendar, and people who are filling out your contact form. And referral marketing, great. Janet, can you just put a little more info about your newsletter? Where you're collecting that info? Is it a footer in your website? Is it somewhere else? Great. Okay, Jody, free book offer on the website requires info. Great. Okay, so I like to call this the buy now or buy forever approach. By only collecting info in our contact form, we're only addressing those hot leads, and we're forgetting about the people who need more time, need more information before they're going to be ready for a consultation, before they're going to be ready for an agreement. So in marketing, we call this the 5 stages of awareness. I don't need you to memorize this, but I want you to understand that when we only have contact form, live chat, phone calls as our way of collecting contact info, we are only serving people who are in this product aware, most aware stages and are ready to take the next step. But there's this section here of problem aware and solution aware where we have an opportunity to generate more leads using other tools. Unaware means someone doesn't know, they don't know you, they don't know your services, they don't know the problem that they're currently facing. I would argue we don't want to advertise to anyone here. As a starting point, we can eventually grow into that, but it's very expensive. And I don't think where you're going to see the most impact on your bottom line right away. Okay, so how do we address these people in the problem aware and solution aware stage? We create a lead magnet. So a lead magnet, I'm going to dive into exactly what this is, the different types of lead magnets, do's and don'ts, but a lead magnet is essentially a piece of incentive that we give someone in exchange for their contact information. Frequently, we can do this in an exit intent pop-up on our website. There's a few other places we can do it, which I'll talk about in a second, but basically we say, hey, in order to access this information, discount, free video series, ebook, whatever, we want your email. And the reason we do this is because then we are taking that website traffic, getting those anonymous eyeballs to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm willing to give you contact info in exchange for accessing this information that is really valuable to me based on where I'm at right now, which is in the problem and solution aware. It is lower friction than reaching out to you guys for a live chat, a phone consult, or a contact form. So let's say I'm an ideal prospect for your firm. I might not be ready to hop on a call yet, but I do want to find out a little bit more information about my problem. And I want to see if almost like silently stalk you to see if you're going to be the right fit for me. We make a lot of buying decisions that way. Like, think about how you are looking to hire people. Do you go on their social media? Do you read through their website? Do you possibly opt into something they have besides a newsletter just to see, is this the right person for me and do they understand my problem? Especially when we're talking about something that's really high stakes, which I would argue most law firms are dealing with something really high stakes. We might take more time to consider who is the right fit for us. It's not a $9 product or service that you guys are offering. It's typically very painful, quite expensive, and rather urgent. So someone is going to really kind of say, is this attorney the right fit for me? And take their time to do some due diligence and or get a referral. And so we want you to be able to say, hey, I'm converting a percentage of website traffic into something else besides a contact form. And therefore I know that they are possibly interested in my services and I can keep following up with them. So a lot of you guys are mentioning a newsletter, and I'd just like to say, like, sometimes a newsletter isn't enough for people to opt in and give contact information, at least if it's positioned that way. The newsletter from my standpoint is the follow-up, but it's not necessarily the hook that makes people want to opt in. So let me ask you, do you guys feel like you have more emails than you can currently handle right now in your inbox, whether it's personal or business? Yeah, Cara, you, so do I. Most people aren't like, yeah, let me sign up for more emails. So that's the problem with using the newsletter as the lead magnet. Really what I'd rather see you do is offer a compelling piece of info as the lead magnet and then use the newsletter as the follow-up. Yep, Steve, oh yeah. Yeah, my inbox unfortunately looks a little similar, at least my personal inbox. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you opt into. So we want to position your newsletter in a different way in order to get someone to sign up for it. Yeah, Jody, I've done that too. So Jody's saying she signed up for a newsletter to get a discount code and then she immediately unsubscribes. Yeah, great. So when we think of a lead magnet, oops, free incentive. The most common lead magnet that you likely see on any sort of e-commerce or online shopping is a discount. It can be great because there's a lot of purchase intent behind a discount, meaning someone's going to opt in, get the discount, go pay for something that's that's more affordable than it was prior. But I don't find a discount as a great lead magnet for a law firm. So typically that's not what you guys are going to use. So we're going to talk about the different types of lead magnets you can use. But first I want to run through a couple do's and don'ts and common mistakes that I see when it comes to lead magnets. So I'm going to skip through these slides because we already talked about it. I'll come back to this. So I do want you to start by having one really great lead magnet. I find sometimes people get caught up in, hey, I need to create all these different kinds of lead magnets. And I don't find the juice is worse than the squeeze. If you have one really good lead magnet, that can be enough to convert people to the next step, meaning to booking a phone call with you, to filling out your contact form, to opening up a live chat. So sometimes it can take creating a couple lead magnets before you find the one that's going to perform best for you. So I'm not saying don't experiment, but I wouldn't focus on creating 20 lead magnets. I think you need one really good one, and that's often enough. This is also where I find people make a mistake. They create the lead magnet, and then they don't have a follow-up series, an automated follow-up series in place. You need one lead magnet, and you need a strong follow-up sequence. The nice thing about this is, while it can take some time to create, once it's in place, it's automated, and you don't really need to do anything else. You just kind of let it run and monitor numbers, and then maybe periodically make some updates. The follow-up sequence should really take someone from, hey, they've read through your lead magnet, to let's tell you more about your firm. Let's introduce some case studies. Let's tell you about some of the kinds of cases that we help people with. Let's let you know how to take the next step with us. And let's tell you what's going to happen in that next step. Let's tell you what's going to happen in that consultation. This is really, the follow-up sequence really is going to help qualify your lead. It's going to nurture them on autopilot. It's going to sell your firm, and you don't have to do anything. Like, these leads are being contacted without your manual outreach. So I think it's an often overlooked opportunity. And in general, they say that nurtured leads have a 20% increase in sales opportunities. So I don't know about you, but having a 20% increase in sales opportunities can make a big difference to any business. If you can increase your sales calls by 20%, who wouldn't want to do that with something that's automated? So Cara, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're seeing when you're talking to law firms when it comes to their automated nurture sequence.
Yeah, sure. So more often than not, the law firm websites that I'm looking at do not offer a lead magnet at all. I mean, there's no other option than, a simple contact form. And there, the opportunity is glaring, right? Lauren talks about adding a booklet, adding an email series, adding a checklist, a quiz, anything. It doesn't need to be this long. And I think we'll get into this too. It doesn't need to be this, long or elaborate, book, 100-page book that takes you, months to create it. You can start small, get it up there, and you will see an increase in your conversion rate, meaning the number of visitors that turn into appointments and then thus turn into paying clients. That said, I also talk to a lot of lawyers that have tried a lead magnet or currently have a lead magnet on their website. They've, perhaps you've written a book, right? And you're offering it on site in exchange for contact information. But the biggest complaint I hear there is there's just so many unqualified leads that are coming from those book requesters, right? And in that case, I think the opportunity is more so about kind of refining. We talk about a funnel, right? Not just, you shouldn't just be blindly reaching out to anyone who's requesting this book, that you need to send them through a path. You need to send them through, when we talk about a funnel where there's, perhaps some qualifying questions as part of the request for the lead magnet. In other words, how immediate is your legal need? We'll show you a little, in a moment, we'll show you some live samples of lead magnets so you can get a better sense of kind of what we're talking about. And then also that critical nurturing sequence that Lauren was referring to, right? If any of those items are either not in place or not, fully kind of optimized, then you're not getting the most out of your lead magnet, and you might kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels with that. So that's typically what I see, Lauren, is kind of one of those two sort of shortcomings.
Yeah, and I think that's, anyone listening might say, yeah, I recognize that that's where my law firm's at right now. And I think that's okay. It's a lot of work to get this stuff up, but once you do, like, the juice is worth the squeeze. And to Cara's point, not all leads should get manual follow-up. They're not all created equal. And that's what this follow-up sequence allows you to do, is it allows you to put messaging in front of the new lead that's going to help qualify them for the next step. So for example, let's say in this follow-up sequence, you're saying, hey, we only serve bike accident cases. Okay, well, if the lead doesn't have that problem, they'll know, hey, it's time for us to find someone else, and That isn't always often clear, in my opinion, on websites. A website often doesn't have all the information someone needs to make a buying decision. And there's the assumption that people are going to keep checking out our website. And the reality is, without a follow-up sequence and sending them to the right information, they're likely to forget about us. We get a ton of information all the time from everything we look at: email, websites, social media. I can't tell you who I looked at 2 weeks ago to hire for a roofing contractor. I was looking at 5 of them. I couldn't tell you. The only one I can tell you is the one I'm going with. I couldn't tell you like who I looked at or why I didn't consider them, because I forget, you know? So your job is to stay top of mind, and part of staying top of mind once you've generated that new lead is having that follow-up sequence and giving them all the information they need to make an informed next decision. Plus, it also saves you from jumping on calls with tire kickers. Like, we don't want to jump on calls with all leads. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the lead's time if you're not a right fit. So give them the information in this follow-up sequence to let them know whether they should take the next step with you or not. Okay. So another do and don't is, I think there's a thing, it's giving away too much value in your lead magnet. I also think, to Kara's point, having too lengthy of a lead magnet means it can be a very long time before that lead magnet gets produced and is live on your website. I'd rather see you deliver value concisely, get something up quickly, and be testing it with traffic. You're already sending traffic to your website, likely from a number of channels. So when I'm talking about giving too much away, I really want you to think of those 5 stages of awareness and think about, okay, what information does my lead need to know in order to take the next step without giving away something that would be included in my services. So just be careful about what you're educating them on and what you are saving for your paid agreement. And yes, Christina, if the lead magnet is too long, people lose interest and drop out. I think sometimes we assume that people don't want a lot of information, or they don't want to be very well informed before they take the next step. And I think that's a mistake too. I think people like to make informed buying decisions. But if we look at the way most of marketing is moving, think TikTok and Instagram Reels specifically, short form video is kind of stuff that people are swiping through. So yeah, they do like to get to the root of the problem quickly and understand quickly what's entailed in this. And so I agree, if we have a 500-page book, like, you're never going to read through the whole thing. So even if you have a lengthy lead magnet, you can, in the follow-up series, give people some pointers of, if this is your problem, go to page 6. If this is your problem, go to page 27. If this is your problem, go to page 58. And that can be a great way to direct them to the right place for them. So, you know, just think about, okay, what does my lead need to know? Let's include that in the lead magnet, and then everything else we say for the free or paid consultation.
Or can I ask you something quickly that I hear quite frequently? So, you know, some of the attorneys I talk to, they tell me they're sort of a bit reticent to give away too much information. They don't want to give away their secret sauce. They don't want to educate their prospects so that the prospects don't hire them and end up just representing themselves, right? What's kind of your response to that? You know, the reluctance to give away what they feel like is, you know, why they're being hired by these prospects.
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance, right? The thing is, in my opinion, that someone who's likely to represent themselves might not be your best client anyways, you know? So sorting out that lead and saying, here's enough information for you to get started or know a little more about this, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think having informed prospects means they'll ask better questions of you throughout the agreement, means they are likely to show up and not be as confused about what's going on. So I think there's a fine line. I think it's important to understand that people like to make informed buying decisions. I mean, think about when you go to the doctor, for example, and I use this example a lot just because historically doctors were very much viewed as they give you they give you a recommendation, you don't ask questions and you go away and do it, right? But that's not really how we interact in the medical world anymore. People like to understand what are the 3 different paths I can take, and why would you recommend this one over another one, and really be involved in their own care. And I say it's likely very much similar in the legal industry, as people like to understand what's happening and understand why you're making specific recommendations. And so, you know, I don't necessarily think there is such thing as, well, I think it's not often that we have too educated of a prospect in front of us. There's you know, some perhaps special exceptions where someone's micromanaging, but that's a different problem. I think that's more of a personality problem than an education problem. So I think it's okay to educate your prospects. I think educated prospects mean you have better quality leads. So, you know, there's a difference between education and then telling them step by step exactly how you'd handle the case so they can go and do it on their own. You know, educating someone about the problem. Here's all the things you need to consider when you're in this situation, and talking through the complexity, saying like, it's not black and white. Like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I have the experience to understand all the nuances of your case and then make an informed recommendation with you, so you know which direction we're going to go. Like, I think you can emphasize the complication, you can emphasize the nuance, and then that positions you as the authority, even while you're educating. So I don't know. I'm not really ever worried about that too much, to be honest.
I totally agree. I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's like, you know, all of this, you're just establishing your expertise, right? You're actually providing enough information so the prospect understands how complicated it is, and that, you know, they actually cannot, more than likely handle it themselves. Yeah. And if they do, here are the, you know, sort of consequences, honestly, or here are the challenges if they were to. So yeah, I agree, Lauren. Good points.
Yeah. And you're kind of just emphasizing in an ethical way, like, here's why this is so painful for you, you know, like, and here's why this is something that you can't do on your own. And you're kind of twisting that knife, if you will, in someone's wound a little bit, and saying, this is like a very serious problem with very serious implications if you don't do it right and you don't work with an expert. And so, yeah, I think I don't think you can give away too much in that sense in terms of education. Can you give away too much in terms of your secret sauce? Sure, but I don't think you need to emphasize that piece of it in your lead magnet. Okay. This is a mistake I see often in all industries, but especially the legal field. There's not a dedicated landing page to promote your lead magnet. It's only in an exit intent pop-up or in the footer of your website, and people will miss your lead magnet this way. I think you need an exit intent pop-up, but I also think you need a landing page, especially if you are on social media, or you are using email, or you are really using any other traffic source to send people to your lead magnet. If you just say, hey, go to my website and fill out the form in the footer, like, someone's going to go there and get distracted. Like, it happens all the time, happens to me all the time. And I laser it on lead magnets. We want to send them to one page where their choice is only enter your email or leave. If you give them the choice to go to your website and it's like, enter your email, go to 25 other pages, read through this video, watch through this case study, that isn't going to always result in a lead. So I think you can do both. Especially also if you're running paid advertising, you want to send people straight to a landing page where they can only take one action, whether that's opt into your lead magnet, book a consultation, watch a video, etc. So don't assume that a form is enough to send people when you're trying to get that contact information, especially for someone who you know isn't hot, and you just want them to run through your sales sequence so they understand a little more about you and your firm and how you can help them. Okay. And then I do want you to promote your lead magnet on all your marketing channels, not just your website. So social media, you can have dedicated social posts, one a week, one every 2 weeks, where you're saying, hey, go check this free piece of content out. All you have to do is enter your email. That's a great way to turn someone from a follower into a lead. We don't own the contact information that people give us on social. We have their profile, but we don't have a way to follow up with them really. I mean, algorithms change all the time on social media. We may see engagement drop. We may see our content's not being served to our followers. So we really want to work to convert those followers into email subscribers. Same thing for paid advertising. I often find people go straight to that. They think they can run paid ads only to hot leads. And really, I'd argue you should be running paid ads to hot leads and also warm leads. And the way you're going to get in front of warm leads is you're going to put your lead magnet in front of them. They might not be ready to book a consultation, but they might be ready to learn about the 5 things they should know about their bike accident, right? So that is a way to maximize the results from your paid advertising, is by layering on a lead magnet as part of the funnel that you're sending people through. Cara, when you see people promote their lead magnet, do you often see dedicated landing pages for firms?
Yeah. No, very rarely, very rarely. I think that's a really good tip. It's honestly primarily on their homepage. It's not even a pop-up. It's not even, prominently displayed throughout the site. It's typically, one bar kind of on the homepage talking about their book or, whatever it might be. Yeah. So there's a lot of missed opportunity, I think, in those cases.
Yeah. So your landing page doesn't have to be complicated. Basically, I would have an image of your lead magnet and I would say, have a compelling headline and then say, opt in here to get this free guide or whatever it is that you're offering. If you want to make it a little more complicated, then below you can have a section that tells a little bit about your firm and why the lead magnet is important. And then again, a call to action at the end. But that's it. It doesn't have to be this big lengthy page that takes forever to create. Okay. So this piece is also where I get people get stuck a lot, is they immediately jump to the most complicated lead magnet they can create. And then it really slows down the production and ultimately the promotion of this lead magnet. I'd like to see you guys get something up within a month, if not sooner. And so if your team, if you don't have the bandwidth to do that, I would consider hiring help so you can get something up quickly. You will see opt-ins right away from traffic. As long as you have traffic, you'll see opt-ins right away if you have a good lead magnet up. So it's not something I would sleep on or say, hey, let me create a 100-page book, because that's going to take too long to create. So in a second, we're going to talk through all the different types of lead magnets you can create. But first, I want to go back to another slide just to show you the other places that you can promote your lead magnet. So give me just 1 second while I jump to that. Okay. So yes, you can use a pop-up on your website. I'm going to talk about pop-ups in a second. I recommend an exit intent pop-up, meaning the lead magnet doesn't show until someone's going to leave your site. That way, you're not distracting them from whatever page they're looking at. So if they're ready to book a consultation, they're doing that first before they opt into your lead magnet. Then I also recommend you link to it in your email signature. So I can't remember if it was Jody or Carmen said that they link to their newsletter in their email signature. Rather than your newsletter, I want to see you promote your lead magnet. You're going to get more opt-ins from it, and they're still going to get your newsletter on the back end of opting into that lead magnet. I also want you to promote your lead magnet in your social media profile bios. People make the mistake of sending people to their website only. And again, it's easy for that anonymous eyeball to leave your website and never opt into anything. So if you have this link in your social media profile, it's something that people can click on to learn more about you and opt in and say, yes, I'm interested in this information. And then again, I would send any paid ads traffic that you're running right now, whether it's social or search, also to your lead magnet. And I just set aside a portion of budget for this. I wouldn't throw all your ad spend at this. Maybe 20% of your ad spend would go to a lead magnet. Okay. And Janet, you're saying you include both your email newsletter and lead magnet in your email signature. Is that right? Yes. Okay. I would give them just one option, to be honest. I think sometimes we give people too many choices. It's like if you go to a restaurant and you have a menu that is 20 pages with pictures, it can be hard to decide, what do I really want? Where if you have a menu that's 6 items, it takes you a lot less time to decide, what am I going to order? And I think this is the same thing. Yes, exactly like Cheesecake Factory. Exactly. So I do want to talk about pop-ups and intrusive interstitials for a second, because I often hear a lot of feedback. Hey, a pop-up's annoying. No, it's spammy. No one's going to opt into it. If you have a really compelling lead magnet that is going to solve someone's problem or answer a question that's already running through their head, then it's actually not annoying. It's actually feels like a lot of value. So I just try and reframe around that and say, you know what, I'm going to run an experiment, put this up, and then I'm going to look at the data and decide if it's actually annoying to people. Because if people are opting in, then it's likely not annoying. Yeah, I'll talk about interstitials in a second. Also,
what about pop-ups on mobile, Lauren?
Yeah, that's what
okay,
that's gonna go. Yeah.
Good.
So there typically your pop-up software is also going to allow you to do things like, once someone's closed out of the pop-up, don't show them the pop-up for 14 more days again. So there's ways to mitigate that pop-up, just like, you know, feeling a little bit like it's never going away. Also, you can use things like a sticky top bar. So maybe it's not a pop-up, but it's only taking up small real estate. I would actually do both, not one or the other. But let's talk about mobile and intrusive interstitials. So intrusive interstitials is basically fancy marketing speak for what Google has said. If you have an intrusive interstitial, then we are going to penalize you from kind of search engine results standpoint. So this basically means if the pop-up is too in your face, too annoying, especially on mobile, it's going to impact your search engine ranking. So what used to be very popular and is very effective is like this full screen takeover pop-up. For Google, that's considered an intrusive interstitial. So this is why I recommend an exit intent pop-up, because basically they've said if something's timed, it doesn't show for a certain period of time, then we don't consider it intrusive. On mobile, another way to mitigate this is saying, hey, the pop-up only shows when someone scrolls down to a certain percentage of the page. So maybe they're 80% of the way through and the pop-up shows. Your software will typically allow you to make these decisions and show pop-ups in a different way on mobile than on desktop. So it's just something your team needs to know when they're putting this live, as they need to understand some of these rules that Google recommends. And interstitial just means pop-up. So Dale, it's just fancy speak for for a pop-up. So we just want to think about, okay, if we were a user on this site, what is going to feel like a value add in the way that this pop-up shows up versus something that's in my face and I can't get rid of and I can't actually see the content I want. I know we've probably all had that experience with ads when we're browsing things and it's like the ad takes over the screen, you can't get past it, you're trying to read perhaps a news article, is often where I see it. We don't want to do that. We want this to feel like, hey, it's showing up at a nice time after I've been on the website for 30 seconds, a minute. And then it's like, hey, do you want this thing that's really valuable and related to your current problem? Dale, can you just let me know that that answers your question, that you understand that interstitial means pop-up? And Katie too, I just want to make sure I've answered everyone's questions about that. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so let's now dive into the types of lead magnets that you can create, because there's a lot of different directions you can go. And I want you to understand, walking away from this presentation, okay, I'd like to create a lead magnet within a month. What's the type of lead magnet I'm going to create so that I can get it up quickly? So the first type, we already talked about, discounts, coupons. I don't necessarily recommend this for a law firm. I don't think that you should be discounting your services. We want people to value your services, but it can have major purchase intent. So maybe you have a productized service, or maybe you have some sort of paid webinar or something virtual that you're delivering to help educate your prospects. If you have something like that, you could use a discount or coupon, but that's the only instance in which I would use it. So let's say, I don't know, you have something for $27 on your site that's like everything you need to know about bike accidents. Okay, if you want to give me 10% off of that to purchase that because you're trying to qualify me, that's the only time I would use a discount or coupon for a law firm. I don't think that's common among the people we talk to, that they have productized services, but Cara, maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on,
Yeah.
Lauren. Yeah.
Okay. Ebooks. I think ebooks are super valuable, and with the right content, it can get high quality leads to raise their hands to take the next step. James Amplifier offers an ebook. We've tested this content over and over. We know people love it, but they're not quick to produce from a copy or design standpoint. So if you're going to go this route, I would hire expert help, whether it's James Amplifier or someone else, because it's not, people can produce it perhaps quickly, but the quality of the content might be very poor. I'll let Cara speak a little bit about the content that we include in our ebooks, but we want to position you want to be positioned as an expert with this ebook, and you don't want it to be fluffy content that anyone can just find on Google, in my opinion.
Yeah, as part of our Amplifier program, you do gain access to libraries of potential lead magnets, meaning you do get a 100-page frequently asked question book. Of course, it's specialty specific. You also get several dozen booklets, e-booklets ranging from a couple pages all the way up to 50 or 60 pages. Again, these booklets are answering common questions on a wide range of topics within your area of practice. And we brand everything for you. So it's really coming from you, coming from the firm, right? Of course, so contact info, of course, logo, color, bio, headshot, anything you want to do to customize the content itself, we work closely with you. And then we get these materials up as lead magnets on your website. So typically we're either using an exit intent pop-up or a different version, depending on kind of what you have going on already on your site. If there's a lot going on, we try and minimize that and try and, of course, kind of create the least path of least resistance when we can. But I talk to attorneys almost every day that tell me, I've been trying to write a book. I've been trying to, dedicate the time to, get some of this on paper, basically. And, if that's you, then, certainly we can help you. And it's also, our materials are a great kind of launch pad. In other words, like, you can certainly add your own voice. You can certainly kind of localize to your specific jurisdiction so that it is more state specific or, regional content. And then, you're really free to use the content in any way that you wish. So, but we certainly help you put the content to work, get the content up as lead magnets. We have the follow-up series in place for you. So it's really kind of out of the box solution if this is something that you've been trying to do. But of course, Lauren is also, doing a wonderful job in kind of, guiding you through how to do it yourself too. So it's just kind of wherever you're at, if it would be helpful to outsource it, of course, reach out. But a lot of the work is one time, right? So even if you are trying to kind of tackle this yourself, it's going to take a time investment, certainly. But as Lauren has said, it's a one-time, pretty much a one-time setup. Even the nurturing sequence, right, can really run for years with some minor tweaks. So think about it like that. Think about, the time investment and kind of the resources that you have. And, in our case, the same team of in-house attorney editors who've worked on our law books for 41 years, the same team has crafted all of the consumer-facing content that's included in the program. So just something to think about, but Lauren will take you through kind of some of the other pieces. And Lauren, when it makes sense, let me know. I can share my screen and actually show some samples, but I'll let you continue.
Sure. So an ebook, the short of it is, an ebook can be a great lead magnet if you have the time to produce it. Not everyone has the time to produce it. You're running a firm. So think about, if I don't have the time to produce this, I'm either going to hire help, or I'll show you another type of lead magnet that I recommend. Okay, so this is not where I'd start, but I do want to highlight a webinar can be a great lead magnet, but I would think about it as middle of funnel. It's not the lowest friction, meaning someone has to opt in and dedicate time to watching it. So if they are earlier on in the process, they might not yet be ready for this. So if you are going to do a webinar, whether it's live or on demand, I would do this as something that's maybe included in your follow-up sequence as a way to qualify someone before they take the next step with you to book a consultation. And a webinar doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 20 minutes. It could be 15 minutes. Time is very precious. And if you can deliver something concisely versus an hour, I think that can be something really powerful in your marketing assets. But a webinar is not easy to create. There are a lot of steps to getting a webinar up and running, and depending on whether it's live or on demand, live only provides value during that live webinar. It doesn't provide value beyond that unless you're going to turn it evergreen. So, and it also requires optimization to convert at an optimal rate. So again, if you already have an ebook and you're looking for the next step, I think a webinar could be a great choice for you. But if you're like, I don't even have a lead magnet, this would not be where I would start. So something to consider. Another great option is a checklist, a toolkit, a resource list. So I find this is the easiest place to start when it comes to creating a lead magnet. They get great opt-in rates, and the reason is because often people think that a tool is going to solve their problem, when you know as the attorney that the tool alone isn't the next step. So for example, let's say, and tool is maybe not the right word for what you guys would be putting in front of people, but maybe it's a checklist. 7 things you need to do before hiring an attorney. 7 things you need to think about in your bankruptcy case. Resources, common resources to reach out to before you initiate a lawsuit against your insurance company, right? So it's more about how do we deliver really quick information, 1 page, 2 page max. Doesn't require a ton of production time. It's really just about whatever the checklist or tools or resources are and a little blurb, and then your bio and how to take the next step with you. It's a great way to hook leads in with what they think they want, but then position your services as what they really need. And you may not be familiar with this software, but Leadpages is one of the primary softwares for landing pages. And they say out of all the lead magnets they have on their software, that checklists, toolkits, and resource lists convert the best, meaning the most amount of traffic opts into that lead magnet. So if you don't have a lead magnet yet, this would absolutely be where I'd start. Or if you have a lead magnet and you're looking at it and saying it's not converting that well, this would also be where I'd start. I think you can really easily get this up within a month. You can create the PDF on Canva, meaning you don't have to hire a graphic designer to do this if you don't want to. And then you just get it up on a pop-up in your email signature as 2 starting places, and then some of those other places that I mentioned earlier. So this would absolutely be where I'd start as a first lead magnet. Cara, do you have questions about this or comments?
I totally agree that is probably the easiest place to start. Because I get that question all the time. Well, I just don't have time, right? Do I have to really write this full book? No. And honestly, the checklist can be, even more popular, even more compelling. Kind of the interactive almost nature of it. I've seen them be very popular. So I agree that that could be a really good place to start.
Yeah. Okay. This type, I'm guessing that many people on this call already have a free consult or some sort of call. If you don't, I'd recommend something similar. This is really great for hot leads. So I would consider a checklist and a free consult. Typically, I find people just say, hey, contact us through our contact form. I wouldn't do it that way. I'd have a little bit of a shorter form on your website that says, what's your current problem? How soon are you looking for help? Tell me a little bit about your situation. And once you enter your contact information in this form, you will get a link to book a call with us for free. It can be 10 minutes, can be an hour. That varies from firm to firm. But again, there's no content really being delivered in this lead magnet. So it's easy to get it up and promote it quickly. I also find it's far more effective than a contact form. So, the only thing to consider here is if you already have way too many calls and you don't need more calls, you just need someone to, I don't know, do whatever the next step is for working with you, then I wouldn't necessarily do a free consult. So just something to consider. How busy is my firm? Can we deliver on this free consult? Do I have the time, or does someone on my team have the time? If you don't, there can be some ways to implement this by shortening the call, by, you know, having someone else do it instead of you on your team. But just some considerations. Do I want to use this as my lead magnet or not? And I wouldn't say free consult is the only lead magnet you should have. I would have a checklist and I would have a free consult. A free consult is really going to be for hot leads, where the checklist is going to be for warm leads. Cara, I know you often see people use their contact form instead of an inquiry form for the free consult, and they often also don't have a calendar booking link. Do you want to speak to any of those pieces at all?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That is the case. So, you know, oftentimes the only opportunity for a website visitor to really, you know, contact the firm in any way is a simple contact form, meaning, you know, not much more, right, than name, email, maybe, you know, phone number. And, you know, if you're able to develop a sort of more in-depth, what we refer to as inquiry form, right, where you're asking a little bit more of the prospect or of the website visitor, right? And then you're able to actually serve up your calendar link, or you know, whoever your intake person is, you know, serve up their scheduler link, their Calendly, or whatever you're using. And kind of almost, I always recommend sort of protecting that link. In other words, don't make it too outwardly available until you have, you know, put the prospect through, you know, a step or two of kind of qualifying and screening out that prospect, like we talked about before. So, you know, the inquiry form is a great way to do that. Then you're serving up the self-set link, and that can be a really, really effective way of you know, kind of filtering those and screening that out. I mean, so much of what is going to come through like a free consult or just contact us, you know, we fight for you kind of a thing, is just going to be tire kickers, as Lauren says, or, you know, just people who you simply can't help, people, you know, cases that you don't want to take, all of that just eats up your time, eats up your staff's time, kind of sifting through that, especially if you're sending traffic like through paid advertising, for instance, right? You're going to get a lot of unqualified, maybe completely irrelevant, you know, leads that come through. So you have to have these, you know, these sifters, kind of these screens in place to, you know, shake out the most qualified. So then, you know, again, full circle, as Lauren says, then you're only, you know, following up with the most qualified. You're only following up with, you know, those folks that you can really help.
I think that's great advice. Okay. This is another lead magnet that I don't see attorneys do very often, but I think can be a really great way to get hot leads to raise their hand. So someone who's inquiring about your prices is likely considering hiring you, and this is a way for you to identify who that is and then have some automated follow-up in place. And plus you get the added bonus of asking them to take the next step only if your services are within their budget. So you don't have to have exact pricing, or like, you don't have to say all of the details in your pricing, because I know this can kind of be, someone wants to get someone on the phone before they take the next step, but you can say, you know, starts at, or you can give them an idea of, we only, you know, I know this is a common tactic with certain specialties, but we only get paid if you get paid. And you can put all this information in a pricing guide so that someone who's considering hiring you can make an informed decision about the next step. Again, can just be a PDF you create in Canva, and then you ask someone for their email in exchange for sending this to them. I don't see this done very often on attorney sites. Cara, do you?
Sorry. No, I think that there is an opportunity there. Of course, you know, the personal injury firm that's maybe working on contingency or whatever, you know, that, you know, their client really wouldn't pay anything until, you know, the firm is paid. I mean, that's also, you know, compelling, but yeah, I very rarely, it seems like it would make a lot of sense for an estate planner, for a family law firm, you know, to give a little bit more guidance when you're talking about pricing. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if there's some sort of productized service involved, which I know is common in the state, I think that can be a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, sorry, just one more thing
Yeah.
super briefly. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the lowest price, right? That's not
No.
like, that's not what we're, what we're trying to convey. In fact, you're pricing your services, tends to kind of be in line with the value, the perceived value of that service. So, I know attorneys who are sort of very proud of the fact that, they are a premium service, and that's how they're attracting the type of, high net worth clients that they're looking for. So just to be clear, it's not a race to the bottom. It's just about informing and really, again, just helping kind of bring them through to the next step. Right, Lauren?
Yeah. And it's about positioning all the value that's included in your services along with the price. So by no means do I think the pricing guide is just, here's what we do and here's the price. It's no, here's all the steps involved in this process, and that is what we deliver to you for that price. So think about, if you have some sort of productized services, or if you have a starting at, how you might use a pricing guide as a way to really position your services as a better solution than another attorneys that they're considering. Okay. This I don't see often in the legal industry, but I do just want to highlight it in case it's something you've considered. I find contests bring in a lot of tire kickers. The name of the game here is lead volume, because you're going to generate a lot of leads, and then only a few are going to be actually qualified to take the next step with you. So typically you're going to pair a contest with something like a checklist or a webinar or something else that's going to help qualify on the back end. This honestly wouldn't be something I'd recommend for most attorneys. So if this is something you'd consider, I would maybe table it until after you have some of these other lead magnets in place first. Okay, last but not least, a quiz is can be a very effective lead magnet. I find it's pretty advanced. It can decrease your cost per lead. So let's say you're spending a ton on paid advertising, a quiz could be a great lead magnet for you to add to what you already have in place. And you can send leads on different paths based on their responses. So let's say you're asking a little bit more about their case in the quiz, and maybe you have different specialties, or maybe you have different services based on where someone's at, or this could work really great for an estate planner. But on the back end of the quiz, based on what category someone fits in, you might have a video and then send them to the next step. But these aren't easy to create because you want to personalize the response. And there's some software involved, ongoing optimization. So again, this wouldn't be where I'd start. I'd start with that checklist, and then I'd maybe layer on a quiz on the back end of that. Cara, do you see many attorneys using quizzes at all?
No, I don't. Kind of maybe the closest thing is once in a while I'll see kind of a personal injury settlement calculator, something like that, which is, a bit different, but I don't see it very often. I haven't seen a really good example of this, but I do think there could be some creative uses for quizzes.
Yeah, and if we wanted to talk about this in the Q&A, because people have questions about this, I'm happy to. Again, if you don't have a lead magnet yet, I would start with that checklist first. Okay, so I just love to know, after you look through all those types, which type of lead magnet do you think is the next step for your law firm based on where you're at, your current marketing? If you could just let me know in the chat, that would be awesome. Cara, while they're doing that, if you want to pull up some of the samples for James's lead magnet that Amplifier provides you, I'd love for you to talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, if you could just enable the sharing, I'll share my screen. Thanks. Yeah, so can you see my screen, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so here's an example of family law, actually, and criminal defense attorney that we work with. You'll see down here, this little box, download our free ebook, 21 FAQs about divorce. If you go ahead and click on that, this is what pops up. So you have questions about divorce. We have answers, 21 answers to be precise. They're available in this free 11-page digital booklet, which we can instantly email to you. Here's a, a kind of a snapshot of the book. And we're just asking for first name, email, phone number, and then my need for legal assistance is, and it's a quick drop down, immediate, not urgent, distant, not existent, really helps you qualify. And then yes, send me your answer booklet. And it's as simple as that. The visitor, the requester is automatically delivered this valuable branded educational booklet. They're also automatically entered into that comprehensive educational drip campaign, that nurturing sequence. So we're staying in touch with all of these prospects kind of throughout the process. And then I also wanted to show you the education center down here. This is also another kind of great use of content and of these booklets. It kind of takes you through, Scott also shot some videos to kind of welcome you to his website, welcome you to what we're calling the conversion center, and kind of guiding visitors through the site and content based on, their issues, their questions. We kind of take a problem solution approach to this, and, you click through, and that's when, there's just immediate access to these booklets that are, of course, branded. Sorry, my computer's freezing. I can't seem to, there we go. That you see the addresses down here, and then these are comprehensive. This is a 12-pager here. But you can see how, this isn't obtrusive. It's, really, pretty elegantly displayed. I mean, he even has a chat down here. So, it's important to kind of not overwhelm, but I just wanted to show you some examples. Here's another one, very similar. Here's an injury attorney that we work with, Casey Lott, and it doesn't seem to be popping up right now. Everything else is popping up, but very similar, asking that qualifying question can really kind of go a long way. I just wanted to show you exactly what that was like. I can stop sharing now. But reach out. I can share tons of samples and really kind of provide some tailored advice on, we love talking about this stuff. I mean, we talk about it all the time. And, even if you're just looking for some advice, I'd love to chat. So feel free to reach out.
Okay, so we are at the end of the hour, but I did want to stay on for some Q&A that you guys might have about lead magnets, software to deliver the lead magnets, follow-up sequences, anything that we may have talked about that I didn't address that you have questions about. Yes, Katie, good question. Okay, so Katie's asking, do you recommend having a separate page on my website for these lead magnets, or even a separate website as a landing page for the lead magnet? So good question. There's a couple different ways you can approach it. I would have one landing page per lead magnet. So let's say you have a pricing guide and a checklist and an ebook. Each of those would have their own dedicated landing page where the only thing you can do is opt into that one lead magnet. Then I would have an exit intent pop-up on your site. So it's not just like Cara showed, it's not competing with the other content that's on your site, but it's offering it as an option if that's the path someone wants to take. And then if you also want in your navigation to have like a free resources tab and then a drop down to the dedicated landing pages for each of those, I would do that as well. So there's a couple different ways I would address it. If you only have one lead magnet, then I don't think you need that free resources section. Okay. And then if you have questions about landing pages, like what do you use to build them, let me know. I'm happy to talk through some of that. But typically your web developer can do that for you. I would make sure there's no navigation on the dedicated landing page. We don't want someone to be able to go somewhere else when they're on that dedicated landing page. Okay, so depending on what your website's built on, you could build it straight on your website. There's also specific landing page software. So ClickFunnels.com, leadpages.net, I believe, are two really common ones where there's landing page templates there for you. You can get spun up really quickly. You can integrate it with your domain, or you don't have to, and it'll often connect with your email service provider. So those are two really great options. Remember, in order to deliver the emails on the back end, that would run through your normal newsletter software. They just need to have automation in place. What is your opinion on a separate domain landing page? Good question. Really good question. The short answer is I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So I know sometimes people have microsites where it's really focused on a lead magnet. And if you're going to be talking about the lead magnet a lot, meaning shooting short videos, promoting it, it's such a lawyerly answer. Yes, we marketers can be very nuanced too. So if you're talking about it a lot, you want a domain that's easy to share. So if it's like richard.com/5-checklist- I don't know what else it would say on the back end of that. That's not easy to share in a video. It's going to be very clumsy. So if it's just the 7stepchecklist.com, that's easier to share. You can redirect that to your own domain if you still want it to live on your domain, but you can just have a redirect in place. I don't know, Richard, it just depends on your unique situation. And if you want to come on audio, I'm happy to talk through it with you. But I don't necessarily think it has to be on a separate domain. It also depends on the software you're using. Do they integrate with your primary domain or not? And if they do, does that slow down speed or not? So for example, Leadpage's recommendation is often to use their subdomain because of speed concerns, because you want the page to load quickly. I don't know, it just depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish is the short answer. So yeah. Cara, do you have thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree, Lauren. I think there's certainly a lot of, some extra detail would be helpful. So yeah, so feel free to reach out. We can, Lauren can guide you through that. Yeah.
Also depends on how much traffic you're sending there. Are you sending paid ads there? I mean, there's a lot of considerations. Anything I might not have covered that you guys want to ask about when it comes to lead magnets? And if you have more questions and you have a really personal situation or you want to talk through the nuance too, I'd recommend jumping on a call with Cara. She can help you think through some of this stuff. She's really good at looking at, here's all the pieces in place, here's what's missing and what's going to be best for your firm based on where you're at now, your current marketing budget, etc.
Okay. That might do it, Lauren. Yeah, okay. That was really great.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Richard. We are going to be sending out the recording to this sometime this afternoon or tomorrow morning. So if you want to share with team or you want to run through this again to look through the webinar types, you will have access to that. So I really appreciate all your guys' attendance and attention and hope you found this valuable. Arrange. Okay, let me answer this one question. Katie, so I'm going to talk you through all the components of it and talk you through the different hires that it would involve and then give you a couple options. So typically you need someone to write copy. You also need someone to design it. You need someone to write copy for the email, follow-up email sequence, set that up in your email marketing software. You need to purchase landing page software and or exit intent pop-up software, have someone set that up. So there's typically a few different hires unless it's a one and done shop like James Amplifier's program. So the range is, it just depends on how many hires you need to make, how specialized they are. Sorry about that. How specialized they are and the quality of the content. The quality of the content varies greatly depending on who you hire. So there's a few different considerations in terms of range, but I know James Amplifier definitely has some pricing that Cara can share with you here.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of elements included in our program, all the content we talked about today, but also monthly custom videos. Everything is included for $9.95 a month. So we're really packing in a ton of value for $9.95 a month. I'd reach out to learn more because there's a lot that we didn't get to, but yeah, we can, really have everything set up for you very quickly at $9.95 a month, 3-month commitment. After the 3 months, it's just month to month, no cancellation fee, but everything is included for that price.
Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone to create one lead magnet for less than $1,000, let alone everything else that comes with James Amplifier. So Katie, I know, again, that was another lawyerly answer, but the short answer is it depends. What type of lead magnet are you creating? What's the scope of work involved? And then what else is included in the creation? Is it also the setup? Is it also, is it just the lead magnet, like just the PDF, or is it everything from start to finish? PDF, landing pages, email sequence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm speaking your language, good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and keep an eye out for our next marketing mentor session. And we have a ton of great educational webinars happening almost every week with other attorneys who are Cara likes to highlight.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. This was great. Thanks, everyone. Talk soon. Bye-bye.